name is Indy and welcome back to my Shadowhunter chats. If you can't already tell, that's what I'm here for. Look at this artistry. I was never good at art. Today I am here to talk about the Lady Midnight! I don't know what that was a scream of. I don't know if that was a scream of terror or the excitement or just, I don't know. Oh look, there's the parapet! I searched through the whole codex to try and find this rune and it wasn't there, so I had to go on the internet, but yeah! Eyeliner skills. Anyway, I'm here to talk about this magnificent book today. I just finished it like an hour or two ago and I'm like, I don't have any feelings. I always get this way when I finish a Cassandra Clare book. I'm always like, I don't know how to feel anything. Deadpan in the emotions field for anything. I just am in a daze always after I finish these books. So of course I'm going to start off with a quick non-spoilery before I get into the spoilery discussions. I feel like any way I do this review, it's just not going to be right. I just feel like there's no right way to talk about this and I'm nervous because I really want it to be an amazing review for you to understand the extent of this amazing book, but it's also so difficult because it's such a popular, massive book and I don't know how to review it, so let's just do this and pray to the angels that we can do this. So anyway, non-spoilery. So this is the first book in the Dark Alpha series by Cassandra Clare. Amazing. I definitely think so. It's difficult, I feel, because we haven't started a new series, the first book in a new series by Cassandra Clare, for years. Final Devices came out in like 2012 and, you know, the Mortal Instruments, you know, City of Bones came out in like 2008. So it's been such a long time since those to have a first book in a series where you need to set up everything that is going on. So I think she did really well and I am so happy with this book. It was amazing. I'm so happy that it was like 720 pages. Like, look at this mammoth that kind of got destroyed because I fell asleep once while reading and this book was really an amazing setup and I think it definitely helped that we got parts in City of Heavenly Fire with a couple of the characters when they were younger, 5 years past. So I think that definitely helped with the setup of this and it's just such an eclectic cast of characters. Yet again, Cassandra Clare is amazing with that sort of thing. So that really did set it off to be such an amazing book. I don't want to say that I didn't like it as much as other books, as of course it is different, it's more modern. Also because it is the first book in a series, it's hard to compare it so far because I haven't read those ones in so long, but this really is truly an amazing book. I do recommend you read the Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy because there is some important shit in here that you kind of need to know that stuff for. But yes, if you love the world, if you love everything Cassandra Clare, definitely pick this one up because it is amazing as per usual. And at the moment I'm not too sad about having to wait a year for the next one. I'm like alright about it, but like ask me in a week when I'm like, I want to go back to this world. Because I literally have nothing else to read now. I've read every single book and I'm like, there's not any little glimmer of hope of other things that I can read because I read Bane Chronicles and Tales from Shadowhunter Academy before I read this to like gear myself up for it. But anyway, I don't know what else to talk about that's not non-spoilery with this. That's about it, I guess. So definitely go read this book and you can come back and watch the review and we'll talk about it. All of those magical things. So bye non-spoileries. I'll see you later, hopefully. Bye! Alrighty, Rue, where do I begin? Because I don't know what to feel about this book. Let's just start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. So the first chapter starts out with these characters, Johnny Rook and Kit Rook. And first out, as soon as I read about these new characters with the site posing as mundane, well not posing, but well, yes, as we know, posing as mundanes. As soon as I heard them at the Shadow Market with the site, mundane, so I was like, Herondales, 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 I knew it! I was not shocked at the end, really, that he was a Shadowhunter. There were so many little things here and there, and especially at the end of the book, he had like Shadowhunter-like skills, and I was like, picked it, I knew this was gonna happen. Did I not tell you in my Tales of Shadowhunter Academy that the Lost Herondale was gonna crop up in this book? Called it! But I don't think it's that big a deal, because I'm sure a lot of people called it. So I'm definitely interested to see where Kit goes in this next couple books. I definitely didn't think of him as 15 throughout the whole thing. I don't know how old I thought he was. Like our protagonist, like 17. Every time they would say it, I was like, oh yeah, he's so young. I don't know if I should be mad at Johnny that he was hiding it from Kit that he was a Shadowhunter this whole time, but I'm interested to see where this goes, that we find more about the back history and yada yada about that. So in the beginning of this book, I wasn't really feeling it for the first 50 to 100 pages. I think it was just because there was a lot of setup. Cassandra needed to do a bit of that, especially with the TV show coming out, and also just because it's the first book in a series, there was a lot of setup of telling us about the world and how things work, like about how runes work, and how about the Parabati, which I thought was fine. But like the Shadow World and like setting up certain things and explaining them, I was like, I know how this works now, Cassandra. I've read 9 of your books. I know what's up. Actually, I've read like 11 or 12 of her books, but anyway. I thought that was important maybe with the TV show if people were going to get into the book series now, or if they were going to start with this one, which I don't know why they would, but you know, people, new book, sometimes you get confused what's the first book. So I definitely didn't really like that too much, and also I think it was just a bit sad in the beginning because Jules wasn't there. Emma was by herself with new character Christina, which we'll get to, and it was just a bit of a sad beginning because they were away and she was missing Jules a lot and just like waiting for the Blackthorns to get back so things can actually happen. But Emma really reminds me of Jace a lot because she does the whole like just going off on her own to go fight these people or just doing whatever the hell she wants, not believing in the law, if you can say that. Like, especially living with the Blackthorns being their motto, a bad law is no law. But I was like, whoa, okay, that's really like out there rebellion sort of. So Christina, I had to warm up to her. I think that her story was really interesting to be added into the drama of the storyline. I was really thinking just to marry Diego and be Parabati with Jamie. And she ran away and she wouldn't tell everyone for so long. So I wasn't sure what sort of story we were going for here. I was like, maybe she got raped, I don't know. Which I'm thankful that was not how it went, but I just went really dark with my thoughts. Basically use her for a power grab to run the institute, and I don't know, Diego didn't stand for it, but she didn't know that. Anyway, so I thought their storyline was interesting. I kind of ship her and Mark though. I don't know how I feel about her going back to Diego. It's like a classic thing to do, but I'm shipping her and Mark, but I don't know what's gonna happen now with the whole Emma Mark doobie-doo, but anyway, we'll come back to that. I love the Blackthorn children's name because their names are old Roman, Greek emperor names and things, so I thought that was really interesting, but the only thing I had the problem with was I got confused all the time with the names. Like towards the end I was fine, but like in the beginning I was like, who are we talking about? Because they use their full names sometimes. But Tavi and Tiberius I sometimes got like a bit confused because they call them Ty or Tavi and their real names Octavian and Tiberius, and sometimes she'd use the full names or she'd use the abbreviated names. But I knew the Blackthorn children were going to be such a great addition to the book. It was a little confusing sometimes because there were so many brothers and sisters to add into it that it got a little confusing here and there, and sometimes a lot of them weren't talked about. I think Drew was really a fly under the radar character, that she didn't really have a lot. We definitely talked about Ty a lot, I think because he's special in a way that he just has a different sort of mindset to everyone else, and I don't think that was a bad thing. It was just we got a lot about him because he's different in a way, but it was interesting because it's not a thing that's known in Shadowhunter culture, like ADHD and depression and dyslexia. You're called crazy and you get exiled if you're in that sort of mind. So I just found that really interesting as a mundane problem that is just a common thing here that's accepted but not in the Shadow World. Ty is really an interesting special character who was just a different sort of character than we usually get. I just like how we get Arthur, who I don't really like as a character. He's not great. He's not all together there either, and you know that has to be kept a secret or else they'll send him off and exile him. But I like how he studies so hard at his craft of the ancient sort of things, and it's really sad that he keeps calling him Andrew, which is Julian's father that he killed. That makes my heart hurt a lot. I enjoyed how on page 60 he's talking about like Parabati type connection, the Greek ideals of love and all this stuff, and Julian's just like, I don't want to talk about this right now. Bye. But I was like, oh Arthur, you're hinting at something. I also enjoyed that Malcolm knew about his relationship with Emma, that he's like, you need to tell Emma. No Malcolm, that's just not gonna happen. There was a part early on in the book that I cried. I don't think I didn't cry any at the time. I think they were at like a food place or somewhere out, and this vampire had this shirt on and it was from the TMI and it was called The Mortal Instruments, and it was a band from Brooklyn, he said, and I just cried because I was like, that's Simon's band, The Mortal Instruments. It was so beautiful. So pretty early on we are introduced to Malcolm. As I said, he knows about Jules' secret. He is the High Warlock of Los Angeles and he's always been helping out the Blackthorns, and he's kind of like Magnus. I really liked him in the beginning, obviously not now. That bitch needs to die. I really liked him in the beginning. He was very like Magnus, he was funny, he was just like a bit of a big child, and I thought he was really cool. I guess he knew Jules' secret, so you trust him because Jules trusts him, so I was like, yeah, I really trust him. In this sort of part, we had Jules being a bit moody. He was being really like Will-like and like, I can't love Emma, and like, oh, he was just being so standoffish and annoying, and I didn't really expect that from Jules. He's sort of an interesting character. He's like really gentle, but also like a fierce, hard battler, but also I guess he has a heart of steel because he has to look after all his brothers and sisters, and it just must be so much hard work. Just amazed at him, like that's crazy town. You know, it's really steeled him, and he will do anything for his family, so that kind of makes him scary and kind of like a threat. He's like hardcore because he's like, I will do anything for my family, I will kill anyone, he will just do anything. And it's a bit scary sometimes. I'm like, Jules, whoa man. Another one of my favorite quotes was when the fairies were around. Emma was talking to Isla, was talking about he didn't murder the victims and things. And then Emma's like, why are you here? Oh, is this one of those misconnection things? We met the other night. You felt a spark. Sorry, I don't date trees. I was like, burn girl. I loved it. So at some point we get Mark back in the first like third of the book, and that is because the fairies want to investigate the murders and find out, because there's that whole 13 people have to die and then Blackthorn, and there's just so much of the rhyme and the riddles throughout the book that it was like really intense, and we like I got little bits more and more each time for what the dealio is happening. The lottery I found really interesting. I love big party scenes. They're like one of my favorite things is like when everyone gets dressed up and looks gorgeous, and there's always that one guy that's like addicted to this girl and it's like, oh, she looks fine, because always shit goes down, and it's always amazing. But Mark is back, and he had such a hard time in the Wild Hunt, but he had Kieran, who he loves, and it's like, oh, there's so much like flitting around. He's so fairy-like when he first comes back, and he just speaks like the fae all the time, and is my now favourite thing to say, well met, to everyone, because it's just so fun to say. But yeah, he is really fae-like in the beginning, and he doesn't know if he wants to stay with the Blackthorns, and he's all over the shop because I imagine it would be hard coming back to the world after years have passed, but not many years in the world you've been living, and like seeing all your family grown up, and that would just be so confusing. But I'm really happy he stayed with the Blackthorns in the end and said bye to Kieran. I was like, Kieran, you're nice, but no. So later on we have Diana, who is the tutor for the Blackthorns, who doesn't really want to be the head of the institute, and we don't know why. She's a really shifty character. Like, I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know, I just don't trust her in a way, and I thought that she was a part of Malcolm's plan because she was there when Tabby got taken, and I was like, what is happening right now? Are we gonna have a double betrayal? No, I just don't trust her. She's always off doing her own thing. I'm hoping we flesh out in the next book what her deal is and what she's doing, but they have the testing that they do every year, so if the kids aren't being well tutored enough in their languages and their skills and those sort of things, they get sent into the Shadowhunter Academy. And I was like, someone's gonna get sent to the Shadowhunter Academy. I was feeling it. I was definitely thinking that was gonna happen when they had their testing, because I was like, why is this necessary? But no one did, luckily enough. And anyway, we got introduced to the Scholarmans, or the Shalloman, advanced sort of school thing that some select Shadowhunters go to, and they become Centurions or Guardian, and basically they're the ones that can go and do the fighting for the fairies, like, because the whole Cold War disallows anyone from hanging out and doing anything with fairies, working with them, and the Centurions of the Scholarmans can actually go and do that stuff because they're like elite Shadowhunter people, basically. So we know that Ty wants to go off there because they have lots of amazing study things to do, so he really wants to do that, and that's where Diego is from. So yeah, I found that interesting that there was like a higher power of Shadowhunters basically other than the Cleave. I want to hear more about this. It kind of reminds me like the Iron Sisters in a way, but obviously not, because that's completely different. I definitely found a sense of monotony in this book. Jules and Emma going off to look at things with the convergence or the ley lines and finding the bodies, and then coming back and like Livy and Ty getting on the computer and the kids investigating things in the books in the library, and it was just sort of a sense of monotony because it just sort of kept happening. So eventually we got to the scene that was in the Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, and I'm so proud. There was such a more extensive scene in this book. Like, they cut it down to like not give you too much in the blurb for this book in there, but oh my god, it was such a good scene where Julian got shot with the crazy arrow thing that was actually Diego shooting him, and like Emma had to heal him, and like their special Parabati like rune powers because their love relationship, which is not allowed. You know, Jem told us the story of how you're not allowed to be in love because it makes you have more power together, and then you go crazy and you kill everyone, or everyone dies because you get power hungry, and it's just, it's all bad. It's all bad. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with that, if we're going to sever the Parvati bond, or we're just going to... I don't know what's going to happen with that. There were so many sort of pop culture-y references and like more modern things, especially with the computer and stuff. I just enjoyed so much of the language in this. Shadowhunters aren't supposed to know about the Avengers. I just found that so funny. There's a line in here that reminded me of Outlander so much. Stopped on a hilltop in a place green and north. Can of stones crowning the hill. Something built 1,000 years back, and I was like, Outlander, Outlander, it's the stones of Outlander. I felt really sad when Jules kept going back to the well-worn pages, it said, of the Parabati, so the Shadowhunter Codex and those sort of things about how you're not supposed to love your Parabati, and it's like, obviously he's read it a lot and it hurt my heart to have to see that, because I was like, no, it's okay, Jules, it's okay. When they were going to choose dresses for the lottery, I had such Twilight feels. It was hilarious. Going into like the hippie shop, finding Christina a dress and trying dresses on. Okay, this is definitely my favorite quote. They were at the lottery and the words, "You have the sight," came up, and I just burst out laughing. I was like, yes, you have the sight. And I liked at the party that Emma and Jules had their first romantic-y scene together. It only took us 340 pages in, but like it was good, slow burn, like we'll get there to the romanticness, but I loved that dancing scene. It was so lovely. And then Mark and Kieran got together. I thought that the lottery was an interesting concept, that the person that gets chosen, we thought was the person that's gonna die, but they choose to be the murderer, and then they die because they need murderer's hands for the spell. And so I thought that was a really interesting concept for the whole bringing back Annabelle with the whole poem and the fairies and the murderers, and I thought it was a really interesting necromancy spell, and I was like, hectic. But I was feeling very Hunger Gamesy with the whole thing, like you get chosen and you're going to your death basically. And also like the motto that they say when you get chosen, "Those who are older grant us great fortune." I just felt like it was like, may the odds be ever in your favor. I felt that was like their version of that. So when Emma goes to look at the convention, she gets drowned. I'm a little confused by how this happens. I don't know if she went to the portal, which we see later on when they're there and she's fighting Malcolm, and she opened the portal and like seawater rushed out. I don't really understand how this all happened, but I'm assuming power over her and Jules' love type of thing is so strong that that's why he felt her drowning. But this ain't no TMI, TID bullshit. Like, Wiz has sex on the beach, like straight up. Like, don't even have a kissing scene before or anything. Ain't nobody waiting to the last book of the series for that. Nah, we just go for it. Which I liked, not gonna lie. I enjoyed it, but I was like, whoa, we ain't messing around. I guess because these people have known each other for 7 years, whereas the other people only knew each other for like a year. Yes, the build-up was already there. I like how afterwards Jules was like, "Oh no, I didn't use protection." Emma's like, "Don't worry, I got the Clary's rune. We're all good, mate. We're all good in the hood." And I was like, no, I couldn't deal that Clary had made a rune for protection, and I was like, wow. And I just like how she had it on her already, like for birth control. Like, is it just a permanent rune that she has on, or did she just like scribble it on at some point during their time? Like, I don't understand how it works, but it was just the funniest thing I've ever read. I like how she was not refusing to tell anyone about it, and then she's like blurted out the card to Christina about sleeping with Jules. So I like that she can now go to Christina, talk about these things, to like console her about it. So Jules has this big secret that he's been keeping from everyone this whole time, and basically I didn't think it was that big a deal. Like, it was understandable, it wasn't that hectic that he basically runs the institute, that Arthur doesn't do it. I didn't think it was that big a deal that, you know, basically Jules runs the institute. Like, we kind of know that already, but that is a big weight on his shoulders to have to bear, but I don't think it was that big a secret. I like how when they're all investigating, as they do, that Tabby brought in the book that basically had the whole poem in it, and I was like, this is weird. But it sounds like the most terrifying Shadowhunters books for children's ever. Like, it had the story of Tobias Herondale in it about his desertion. I was like, what sort of hell of a book is this? And this just shows that there's not that many Shadowhunter families if they're gonna have a story about Tobias Herondale. So we get to page 502 and we've officially identified the evil threat that is going to be, I think, the player in this whole series. Valentine and Sebastian in TMI, and we had Mortimain or Mortmain in the other one. We officially have Lady Midnight. It's basically Annabelle Lee. We know she's gonna come back to life. She's gonna be the evil threat throughout this thing. And I also don't think Malcolm's dead, so he's also still a threat in this sort of thing. But he might be dead, but he probably had the enough ability to maybe just make this spell, because it got all washed out to sea. The hands himself. Probably Blackthorn blood got spilled in the cave and washed out into the sea, so it all worked out well in his favor. He might be alive, he might be dead, but he at least did the spell. That's all we know. So I didn't even realize it was Malcolm till the end, basically, which was sad that I didn't pick it up, but I was like kind of shocked. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect this, because he's such a likable character. Our characters trust him. I really didn't expect that at all. I didn't really like the whipping scene. I thought it was really just annoying because they were like, no, let me do that, let me be whipped, let me whip, and I was like, just get on with it already. And I don't like how Kieran was so jealous that he also helped set this up with Isla. But yeah, I just don't like how he was like so jealous and he thought that Emma was the one that Mark was falling for, but it was Christina, and it was just like, stop being so jealous. So towards the end of the book, Mark starts becoming more Shadowhuntery, and he decides towards the end that he is a legit Shadowhunter again, so yay Mark! Okay, so on page 579 there was some sus business. Malcolm and Diana were talking about how she knows Katrina, and I was like, what is going on here? And I was confused about how this is all tying in. I was definitely thinking something along the Haredale vibes because Katrina's a nurse. Malcolm was saying to Diana that she couldn't tell the Blackthorns about how she knows Katrina, and I was like, okay, so Diana knows something about the Haredales maybe? That was the vibes I was getting, but I guess it didn't really come into play because we found out they were Haredales anyway later on. And they got to the cave, the whole big battle at the end of the book. Yeah, there was a bit of a hectic scene. I don't really know if I know what happened with Emma. Like, again, I'm confused about the whole releasing of the seawater thing. How did this happen? It sounded more like she released a portal of water, but I don't know what happened when she hit the black book with her sword. Like, what is happening with that? There's some magic thing that I think is going to come into play later on, because I don't believe that she just stabbed him and she had all magic and like couldn't move and then she's just fine now. So something definitely went on. So when we get back to the Institute after Malcolm's dead, which I don't know why she just let him float out to the ocean and just think that he's dead. Like, he's a warlock for goodness sakes. Like, he is probably not dead. He's not gonna be dead. I'm calling it. But I can't deal when we have Jace and Clary and TMI characters coming into this. Like, I'm fine with Infernal Devices characters. That doesn't bother me at all, but I just get weirded out hearing about the TMI characters when they're talking to our characters now. It weirds me out. I just can't deal. My mind's like, what is happening? What is happening? But I like that they came from Simon and Izzy's engagement party. I was like, that's alright. Now he's marrying her and he's a Shadowhunter, which is obviously what's allowed and stuff, but I'm just like, you know, he went through so much, good old Simon, and you know, he wasn't accepted by Izzy's parents before, really, because, you know, he was a vampire and then he was a mundane, but now he's a Shadowhunter. It's like totally fine. I'm just like, you know, Simon's come so far just to become a Shadowhunter in the end. In a way, I always liked that he was different and downworlder, but you know, oh well, it's exciting they're getting married, so I'm interested to see if we're going to get any of that anywhere in novellas or any sort of thing, so I guess we'll see. So this is the point where we find out the whole forbidden love, greater power that destroys everything from Gem with the Parabati thing, so it's a bit hectic. Now Emma has taken to cutting Jules off and being like, no, we can't do this. And now she's trying to get with Mark, like in a non-relationship-y way, but Mark wants to take it that way, and just to basically hurt Jules. And I don't know how it's all going to go, because Mark and Jules are not that good at brothers anyway, and I just feel like this is going to tear them apart. I don't really like that she's gone for the move of going for Mark to try and stop Jules. It was fun Forbidden Love before, but now it's sort of just annoying. I don't like that she's gone for Mark, but we'll deal with it. It'll sort of be like a Clary and Simon type of thing. Like, she can't be with Jace, so she's with Simon, and it's just not going to work out, and then she'll go back. Thank you guys so much for watching my Lady Midnight review. I hope it all went alright. I talked about the things that I needed to talk about. I'm off to go be in a massive mourning period, but go and pick up this book, definitely. If you love everything about the Shadowhunter world, you've got to read it, of course. So anyway, I will see you in my next video. Bye! This way to the mourning period? Thanks, bro. Oh no, I just ruined it some more! whatever it is. May the... whatever. Oh my god, what is the Hunger Games motto? So when they got to the big end of the world, it's a bit dramatic,